Following Sunday's general election, in which no single party managed to get enough seats in parliament to form a government alone, party leaders have said they will push for a coalition, with the implication that they could be ready to put aside some of their political differences for the sake of forming a government. Turkey's interim Prime Minister, Ahmet Davutoğlu, said in an interview on state broadcaster TRT on Wednesday night that an early election would only be considered only if chances for a coalition government are exhausted. Davutoğlu also dismissed claims by a pro-government daily that his party has some red lines that partners of a potential coalition with his Justice and Development Party, AK Party, would need to obey. "Nobody can announce red lines of behalf of the AK Party," he said. Davutoğlu underlined that all options would be on the table in forming a coalition, noting that defining red lines before coalition talks had even started would be against the nature of politics. President Recep Tayyip Erdoğan has joined Davutoğlu in saying that efforts should be made for a coalition government to be formed. During a ceremony in Ankara on Thursday, Erdoğan said, "Everyone should put aside his ego and a government should be formed in our country as soon as possible." Noting that he would undoubtedly carry out the duties conferred to him by the constitution for the formation of a government, Erdoğan stressed that those who would block the formation of a government because of their egos would be held responsible before history and the nation. Some people claimed, following the elections, that Erdoğan might choose to call for snap elections instead of tasking the leader of the second-largest party to form a government should Davutoğlu, who would first be conferred the task as leader of the winning party, fail to form a coalition government. Although the ruling AK party emerged victorious in the election by receiving almost 41% of the vote, it failed to obtain the 276 seats needed to secure an absolute majority in the 550-seat parliament, which is necessary to form a single-party government. According to temporary elections results announced by the Supreme Election Board, YSK, on Tuesday, the AK party won 259 seats with 40.92% of the vote. The main opposition Republican People's Party, CHP, got 131 seats with 24.78% of the vote. As for the other two opposition parties in parliament, the Nationalist Movement Party, MHP, received 79 seats by securing 16.25% of the vote, while the pro-Kurdish People's Democratic Party, HDP, received 13.42% of the vote, securing 81 seats in parliament. CHP leader Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu, who has made it clear several times that he favors a coalition government over early elections, has said once again his party would do its best for the formation of a government. In a Twitter message on Thursday, the CHP leader said, "Let everybody know that we will make assessments based on shared wisdom in the party to realize, by protecting our values, our election promises. Nobody should doubt that we have been doing our best to this end." The official results of the election are expected to be announced by the YSK by June 20, following which Davutoğlu is to start formally meeting with the leaders of the other parties for coalition talks. In an apparently veiled reference to a recent surprise meeting between Erdoğan and Deniz Baykal, a veteran CHP deputy, Davutoğlu underlined during the TRT interview that Erdoğan was not part of any coalition negotiations with opposition parties and that he would only step in if a crisis emerged. Davutoğlu also called on all political figures to act within the limits allowed by the constitution, which appeared to be a reference to Erdoğan. President Erdoğan has been harshly criticized by opposition parties for having acted like the president of the AK party rather than of the whole nation since being elected president last year. By so doing, the opposition argues, Erdogan has lost his impartiality as president, a requirement of the constitution. Yet another major criticism by the opposition towards Erdogan is his meddling in the affairs of the government and those of the AK party, in violation of the constitution. HDP CO chair Selahattin Demirtas once again said on Thursday that his party is open to all options for a coalition government, other than with the AK party. Pulling Turkey into debates over early elections will not help. We believe Turkey has to continue on its way by forming a coalition, he told reporters in Ankara. Erdogan assigned Davutoğlu, after the latter presented his resignation following the election, as interim prime minister until a new government is formed. Davutoğlu's referral to red lines is an obvious reference to a report in the pro-government Sabah Daily that enumerated on Tuesday the AK party's red lines in coalition talks as follows: the continuation of a settlement process launched to resolve the country's Kurdish issue and terrorism problem, President Erdogan's legitimacy as president, and the continuation of the fight against members of an alleged parallel structure nested in the state institutions. The right-wing MHP is seen as one of the most suitable coalition candidates for the conservative AK party, but messages leading MHP officials have given since the election do not inspire much hope. In fact, MHP leader Devlet Bahçeli said on the night of the election that the AK party should try forming a coalition government with the main opposition CHP and the pro-Kurdish HDP, appearing to rule out any possibility of cooperation with the AK party. But in a Twitter message on Wednesday evening, the MHP leader, who seemed to have somewhat softened his tone, said accounts should first be settled with the AK party for the legacy it has left after 13 years in power. Calling on AK party officials to practice self-criticism regarding past mistakes, Bahçeli said, "Can a compromise be possible before the settling of accounts? If we forget the past while looking at the future, would we lose our existence or dignity?" As Bahçeli's message reveals, the MHP would only agree to join forces in a coalition government with the AK party if its demands are met. The risk of failure in negotiations is possible given that the prerequisites voiced by parties so far make it difficult to reach a compromise. One of the major demands set forth by the MHP is the termination of the settlement process, which the MHP maintains is a process that would lead to the disintegration of the country. But Davutoğlu said in the TRT interview that the AK party has decided to go ahead with the settlement process with the outlawed Kurdistan Workers' Party, PKK, no matter what the outcome of coalition negotiations with opposition parties. Another MHP demand is that Erdogan remain impartial as president and not get involved, in violation of the constitution, in the affairs of the government or the AK party. Yet another MHP prerequisite that is hard for the AK party to swallow is holding those AK party members who were allegedly involved in corruption, as was revealed by two graft probes that went public in December 2013, legally accountable for their actions. The probes revealed, based on evidence in the investigation file, that Erdogan as well as 4 then cabinet ministers of the AK party were involved in corruption. The charges against the suspects were dropped last year by prosecutors who were assigned by the government after the removal of those who had launched the graft probes. CHP Deputy Chairman Sezgin Tanrıkolu said in a live broadcast on Thursday that the party first seeks a coalition in which the AK party is not a partner. Noting that the nation removed the AK party from power, Tanrıkolu underlined during her interview on NTV that opposition parties should cooperate to call the AK party to account for the corruption. Noting that all opposition parties promised to do so, the CHP deputy chairman called on the MHP to offer support for a possible coalition between the CHP and the pro-Kurdish HDP. He also said he has difficulty understanding why the MHP resists offering support to a coalition in which the HDP is a partner. Unless all the three opposition parties CHP, MHP, and HDP come together, no coalition government formula is possible without the AK party. The total number of deputies the CHP, MHP, and HDP have is short of reaching the required 276 seats. Yusuf Halalu, the MHP's parliamentary group deputy chairman, once again underlined on Wednesday that the party would not be part of any coalition in which the HDP is involved.